Am I back online? Hello? Damn. Am I back online? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Good, good, good. Well, that was unfortunate. What happened was, oh, I have an excuse, but I do have an excuse. What happened was the cat ran past the plug that plugs the surge suppressor into the wall, which is connected to the router, and the cat jiggled the plug, and so the router came crashing to a sudden stop. But it does look like I am back somehow. Although I can't seem to get that and that. Right in there. See? Oh, okay. That is a problem. I have a problem which I'm about to fix. So please bear with me. Thank you so much for your understanding. Video. Okay. So it should work, shouldn't it? When I switch it on. Okay, thank you guys for coming back. Thank you, Henry. I'm trying to come back myself. All right, so the one camera is not working. The one camera is not working for me at all. Okay, let me just sort myself out here. There we go. All right, so this camera is working, but I don't want to really. Excuse me, I got my headphones on. Okay, this one's working, but I don't really want this one to be running. So I'm going to turn this one off. I'll try and get the other one working. Give me one moment. One moment, please. So Iron, if you're oh no, you're gone too. Sorry, sorry that you were kicked so swiftly, but so was I. Now, I have an issue of trying to get this to work. I got it. I see. All right. Look, I got this. I got it to work. There we go. Okay, so situation update is that Iron Charioteer, or the room that we were in, kind of got nuked. So what we'll do is we're going to carry on with Gestapo Gary and his presuppositionalism. What do you think? We do that? Let me set up a nice scene for that, though. Oh. I'll set it up as we. I'll set it up as we continue with the. Continue with Darth Dawkins on presuppositionalism. So here we go.
God.
Question.
Dude, you're
What?
making no sense to me. No, I'm asking you, you hold that you have the capacity to reason and reason that there's insufficient justification or evidentiary support for God. That's a product of your reason. But you told me you don't know of any foundation or basis for your capacity to reason. So, according to your principle, that if something doesn't have rational justification, you lack belief. So, since you don't have justification for the foundation of reason, in order to be consistent, you would have a lack of belief in your reason and its foundation. But you don't. You're violating your own principle.
The reason I'm not providing a reason for my reasoning is because I I don't know enough about it. I'm
So
not.
I asked you why you violate your own principle. Is your principle that when it comes to foundational concepts such as God or the ultimate nature of reality, that you require rational justification in order to believe?
I require evidence, sure.
Good. What's your evidence that there's a foundation in the ultimate nature of reality that will provide for your capacity to reason?
I don't know.
So you don't, then you should have a lack of belief in your reason then.
Sure.
Because if you believe in your reason, then you're violating your own principle.
I what? I'm not getting any
Exactly. What
You're
the hell are
violating
you
your own
talking about?
principle. If God is defined as the ultimacy of reality that provides for all contingency, but you lack belief in God because God is not rationally justified.
You notice he said if God is defined. Okay, he just says if God is defined, okay, fine. But if is not 100%. So and if is if you can define something out of your imagination, it's still not going to be defined into reality. But so you can define it in terms of making something up. If, but it's always an if.
Then something else exists ultimately that is not God that actually provides for your capacity to reason. But you told me you know of no foundation that provides for your capacity to reason. So you don't have a justification for your
this
reason.
actually
So
reminds
in
me
order for
of
you to be consistent, you should have lack of belief in it. But you don't have a lack of belief. You believe in your reason in spite of the fact that you have no foundation or basis for it, and hence you are violating your own principle.
fine. I'll play the Matt Dillahunty card. I believe in my reasoning because of its continued reliability, ability to produce effective results.
Henry Darth really is this stupid. He really, really, really is. And this guy said whatever he said there was very well said.
How do you know your reasoning is basically reliable?
You see, that's dumb because if he's reasoned himself to God, he obviously thinks his reasoning is basically reliable. That's a stupid question to ask a rationalist.
Because it continues to produce effective
Did you
results.
use did you use your did you use your reasoning to determine your reasoning was basically reliable?
What an idiot!
I'm circle
Such a fucking
jerking
idiot.
just like you.
How did I circle jerk, sir?
You're using God to to as evidence or justification that there is a God.
Did you
You're
hear? Did
using
you
the
did you
perfect
did you hear my did you hear my
shut up.
did
You're
you
doing the
did you
same
hear my
thing I'm
did you hear my defense for God?
doing. Your
Repeat
defense
that.
for God is indefenseless.
Did you hear my defense for
You have
God, sir?
no evidence for him.
Sir, we've already gone full circle. When you say there's
Sir,
no evidence, that includes the
Circle
universe.
jerking
But
just
you
like
told me you don't know what the universe is evidence of, so you can't exclude God, can you, sir?
sir.
That's true.
Can
You
you
can't.
can you necessarily exclude God as the causal origin, sir?
Sir?
Because
no.
if
I
you say no, then you can't say there's no
Why is he
evidence
all
for
of a
God.
sudden
You
coming
can
up with the
say
sir
that you're
stuff?
unpersuaded, but you cannot say there's no evidence,
You can still
as you
say
already
that
did.
there's no evidence.
Okay. All right. I
Sorry,
think we're done. I think we're done here. Who's next?
yeah, I was gonna say,
When
wait a
God,
sec.
what?
Wait, Osmond and Almost, just wait a second. Ken, are you done, or do you have more that you want to say to Darth?
I was done before this debate began.
Okay, so
By the way, when you're done with this, can you
That's funny.
DM me the link to where this recording will be posted?
yeah, if you look in the recording voice chat, where it's posted. Okay, two things. If you look in the recording text chat, when this is done, the recording bot will post a link that you'll have access to. Where it will be posted, if it is posted, will be my Discord live stream channel. I'll DM that to you. Just again, I don't have you as a
Thank you.
friend, so you have to accept my friend request because I have my DMs.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll do that right now.
So who would?
Later.
Okay, so who did someone call it first though? Who wants to? Who was the first one to call it? I think that was Ruth who was talking there. You can go when you have time. I know some people said it first though. Does Asmund or Almost want to go right now?
Yeah, I just want to say that the God can be excluded if God contradicts science or reality or the natural. Like, if God has some supernatural traits, he's definitely getting excluded.
Okay, is there what's the first point you want me to respond to?
Like you said, how can you exclude God? If God
Yeah.
contradicts reality, like such as all the supernatural bullshit
Okay,
stories
can
in
you
the
tell
Bible or
me?
in the Quran.
Can you tell me what you observe that contradicts the existence of a creator God?
Like, do, first of all, do you believe that the Bible is literally true?
Yeah, I hold that the 66 books of the Bible are the infallible, inerrant inspiration of God. God sovereignly guided the authors of the Bible using their personalities and their agency without being robots to write down the very message that he intended without error. Now, what
Okay, nice.
observation do you have that shows there's no creator God, sir?
Okay, so I was actually an ex-Muslim. I'm an atheist now, just to let you know. And yeah, for instance, do you believe that all human beings were created
I
from
asked you a
Adam and
question,
Eve?
sir. I asked you a question. You
Adam
dodged
and
it.
Eve evolution.
May I
There you
finish,
go. I
please?
didn't dodge it.
I asked you a question. You dodged it and
I
asked me a question. And out of courtesy, I answered your question when you dodged
okay.
mine. Now I asked you a question.
I
What
didn't.
observation falsifies that there are no, that falsifies the concept of any creator God existing?
When God tells you that I created humans from Adam and Eve, science contradicts it by saying that evolution that cannot biologically happen. And when God
Okay.
says that the world is
Well, first of all,
hold on, don't cut
we're
me off,
talking
don't
about
cut me off,
creator
don't
God,
cut me off.
sir.
Yeah, well, you said that the Bible is God's
No,
word.
I said creator God, sir. The Bible would be included in that, but it extends beyond that. What observation falsifies
No, no,
any
no.
creator God concept?
Hold on. Do you believe that the Bible is the word of God? Yes or
Right.
no?
Okay. Okay. This is the second time I've had
Yes
to answer the
or
question.
no?
Yes, I'd like
Yes?
an answer to my
Okay.
question. I will repeat the
I
question that
did.
you have dodged 3 times.
It's evolution. It's
You did not.
evolution. I
Okay.
answered you.
How does
The observation is
okay, well,
evolution.
first of all, you can't observe universal common ancestry. When you say evolution, do you mean
Oh, come on.
universal
That's
do you mean
science denialism right
would
there.
you excuse me? I didn't deny anything. I asked you a question and I didn't even
Okay.
get the question out. Now, when you say evolution, do you mean a universal common ancestry?
That's the scientific consensus. That's not my position.
I didn't ask
Like,
you
you can
about
go.
the consensus. I asked you, are you defining evolution as a universal common ancestry?
I am reporting the science. I'm not defining anything. I'm not a
Sir, are
scientist.
you defining the word
Yes.
evolution as a universal common ancestry? Now,
No, 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 no. That's you're talking about macro evolution, like not micro evolution.
yeah. Okay. Are you using the word evolution to mean a universal common ancestry?
That's just a part of evolution and not the meaning
Are
of
you
evolution.
defining evolution as
No,
universal
that's
common
not the
ancestry?
definition.
How are you defining evolution?
Evolution is the changes or are the changes that happen over time in living species
Yeah,
over very long periods of time.
creationists don't disagree with biological variation, sir. So how does biological variation
Okay,
and
the
reproduction?
origin.
May I finish?
The,
Okay. Are you? Oh,
Yes.
so the origin. Well, does evolution deal with the origin of life, sir? That's abiogenesis, not evolution.
Exactly. That's abiogenesis. Do you
Right. So
believe?
good.
Do you think
Okay.
that it's true
Did
or not?
somebody observe abiogenesis, sir?
No, but there's very
Okay.
solid
So good.
evidence
So
that
we can.
it
Okay.
may
So
be.
we can leave
Notice how you
abiogenesis
cut me
out.
off every time.
No, I'm trying to point out to you
Yeah.
that you didn't observe abiogenesis, so you can't appeal to abiogenesis as a falsifier for created gods. Now, what did you observe next
Evidence
that
isn't
falsifies
always an
creator gods?
observation. That's empirical evidence. There is
Okay,
other
I'm just
times.
gonna pipe in for a sec. I'm just gonna say it's getting very nippy, so just let each other finish points. Like,
All right.
Okay.
So what singular observation are you referring to that falsifies that there are no creator gods?
I'm not saying that there are no gods. There
Well,
might
you're
be
an
some
atheist, aren't you?
creatures out.
Jesus.
Atheist means
Right.
the lack of belief in the
Okay. Do you lack a belief in all gods?
God. What do you mean by God? Like a creator of the
Okay, a
universe? There
creator
could be some
God. Do you
alien
lack belief
civilization
in
that
all
created the
gods?
universe.
Do you lack belief in all creator gods?
Abrahamic gods or Abrahamic
No, I didn't
religion?
say
Yes.
Abrahamic. I said, do you lack belief in all creator gods?
Well, define God so I can answer you.
God could be defined as an eternal, non-contingent, necessary being that has intelligence and consciousness and the power to effectuate the initial conditions of the universe.
Eternal? No, I don't believe such being
Okay,
exists.
now, what singular observation are you referring to that falsifies that no creator God exists?
I am a naturalist, so I don't believe in the supernatural.
I didn't ask you what you
If you
believe. I
say,
said, what observation
yeah, well, that's part of the
falsifies
answer.
any creator gods?
The lack of observation. That's the answer.
Okay,
You need
are
to
you
provide the observation.
are you offering? No, you told me that science
No, I didn't.
falsifies the God concept. Is that correct?
Look, my position is I am not convinced.
I asked you sir.
Your
Every time
position,
I
you
ask you
should
a
convince
question,
me. Not me.
you are evading my question, and the
I
conversation
am
is
not.
going nowhere. I have
No.
answered every single one of your questions, and you are evading mine.
Okay, try again. I will answer it.
Okay.
Okay, try again.
How does any observation that you
Mhm.
have or any other
Mhm.
person falsify that no creator gods exist?
There is no single observation that directly denies the possible existence of a God.
You
Okay,
told me
did you get
science
that?
falsifies God. Did you not? Did you say that?
No, it's God that falsifies science.
I heard. No,
If you
I
read the
heard
Bible,
you.
let me
I
finish,
heard you.
please.
The
Let me
Bible is
finish,
only one
please.
of a number of
Let me
gods.
finish, please. Yeah, and it's full of shit. Like saying the world was created in 6 days. That's
Okay.
fucking nonsense.
How do you know that's false, sir?
Okay, now it's getting into science denialism. Like you
Yeah.
just need to read some
No, I
basic
asked you a
physics and
question.
universe
It's
is
not a science denial,
13.8 billion.
sir.
I'm not a science teacher, so I'm not going to answer those. You
Yeah.
can
Well,
just educate
neither
yourself
am I. So we're on a
or
level
going
playing.
online. There's a lot of peer-reviewed papers and
Right. Now, sir,
resources
you're
online.
changing the topic.
Educate
You're
yourself.
moving the goalpost. You are
No,
moving the
like when you
goalpost.
deny science, I'm not even talking.
Okay, listen, to the moderator of the room, this is going nowhere. He is talking past me.
Yeah,
I have
when
answered
you
every
deny
single one of his
science and
questions.
reality,
You're
it's
over
going nowhere.
talking me. You are over talking
No,
me.
you are.
Almost. It's
Now,
not fair to.
I have answered every single one of your questions, and every
No, you
time I
cut me
ask
off,
you a
dude. Come
question,
on.
you are completely evasive. So we're going to have to
You
move on
cut
because
me off.
you don't know how to have a conversation. So we need to move on to somebody else.
You deny science, we need to move on, sir.
Okay,
Okay,
one sec.
yeah,
One
sir,
sec.
that's a cliche.
Science
Wait,
denialism.
Dart,
I
one
can't
sec.
deal
To me
with that.
talk. It's the server owner talking right now. Okay, almost. He is putting a question to you, so you should answer his question before asking him a question. That is the kind of fair way to proceed. So, Darth, put your question to him.
Almost vegan.
I'm sorry.
What observation or set of observation necessarily falsify all creator God concepts?
There is none.
Good. Well, you contradicted
Okay.
yourself because you said science
No.
falsifies
Hold
the
on.
existence of God.
Almost.
It
Let him follow
falsifies
up.
the existence of your God, the Bible God, and the
No,
Muslim
you didn't
God.
say that in the beginning. You're now
No. You
moving the
changed.
goal.
You
Sir,
added.
listen
You
to me.
added
One
a
thing I
variable,
will not
which is
put up
all
with when
gods.
I'm in a dialogue with
Come on,
somebody
dude. You're
is when
dishonest.
somebody lies about what they say. You are now lying.
No,
You
you
changed
lied.
your tune.
You
You
didn't
said
say all
science
gods in
falsifies. Okay,
at the
okay,
first
we're going to
time.
move on because now you're lying. Okay, I don't talk with people when they
No,
start
man, you're
lying. I
dishonest.
heard
You
you
didn't
correct.
say
Hey,
all
dude,
gods.
listen to me. I debate
You
all the
didn't
time.
include that.
You stated that science falsifies
I
the
debate
existence
too.
of God. Okay,
You're
you didn't
of
say
your
science
God, not all
falsified.
gods.
Okay, listen. All right, we're
Your
going to move
God.
on. This guy is stuck on stupid.
Okay.
Come on, dude.
So I guess if do you have anything else that you want to say there almost before we move to the next person?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I hold the same position as probably any other atheist. I do not have knowledge beyond like what happens before the Big Bang, like any other scientist. When you define God as an entity outside of the universe, like that's where my knowledge and basically the knowledge of every other scientist stop. We cannot answer those questions.
Okay.
However, when you say that the biblical God or the Islamic Allah is true. Now, I have the word of God in his books, which is the Bible and the Quran. I can easily debunk that shit by science. That's it.
Okay. So
Okay,
Darth,
good.
Darth,
Okay,
one
all right,
second.
you can debunk that. Okay, good. If you can debunk the Bible, if you can debunk the Bible by
I cannot.
science,
Okay, wait,
science.
guys, come on, one sec. Okay.
Well, he had a chance to speak.
Yeah, no,
I'd
Darth,
like a chance to respond.
Darth, chill. I'm gonna 1 second. So, okay, almost you've said your piece. Darth, have the last word, and then Agnak wants to go.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, he can't claim that science debunks the Bible, okay? Because in order to launch a science being viable, you're first going to have to establish what the ultimate nature of reality is that science depends on. You're going to have to establish through a rational justification that the external physical world is actual. You're going to have to justify, more importantly, that there are causal connections between events and that nature operates according to some laws before you can even invoke science. Science depends on those fundamental presuppositions, several others. So I will just simply ask you one simple question. In order to use science as a weapon against the Bible, and science requires that nature operate according to the principle of causal connections and causal relations, do you have a rational justification that there are causal connections and relations between events in order to establish science?
Are you talking about determinism or?
Okay,
wait
a sec. Okay, we were giving you the last word there. Are you saying now you want to keep going with almost, or do you want the next person?
Well, he's just making a wild claim, and he needs to support it. Can you justify the necessary prerequisite of causal connections between events in order to launch science as a viable medium to attack the Bible? So you have to defend that there are causal connections and relations between events. Can you do so?
Again, the conversation now shifts to is science true or not, or what is
No, I
defining
didn't
as
ask you if it
science,
was
which is
true.
just science
I asked you,
denialism
can you
story.
justify
You
causality,
don't
sir?
need to cover it by any pseudo
Can
logic.
you justify
That's just straight up
causality?
science denialism.
Okay,
Can I
we're
justify?
gonna move on. This
What does
guy,
that
all
have
he
to
wants
do
to
with
do is spew slogans. Well, we're gonna go next
science?
to
Is
the
a
next person.
methodology.
This guy does not know how to have a conversation.
Yeah,
Okay,
Isaac,
guys,
just like we can move on.
almost. Yeah. So we're
This is like
the reason
level
we're
one
giving Darth,
creationism.
guys, the reason we're giving Darth the last word is because he's the guest in the server. So he's saying he's done. You've said your piece.
Yeah.
If you want to go again after, you can ask him if he wants to go
Yeah.
again. So who wants to go next? I know I heard Asmund, I heard Ruth, I heard Agnak. I mean, who wants to pop in?
I'm interested in this.
You guys can choose who wants to go. Who wants to go?
Can I go?
By the way, how many people are in the room?
Maybe like 70. I don't know. Yeah, I can check. 1 sec.
I can go now if no one else is stressed to go.
I'd like to.
77.
Okay.
So
Can I
who's
go?
going now?
Sure, go for it, Ruth. Was that Ruth? I can't tell from the voice.
Give me like 2 minutes. I'm talking with my grandpa for a second.
Okay, well, someone else beat you to it there, Agnak. You're like third on the list right now. So whoever was just, I thought I heard Ruth. Did I hear Ruth, or am I tripping out?
Yeah, yeah.
Then let's let Ruth
So,
go.
all right. So basically, you're making wrong stipulations about science. For example, that science requires causality, science observes causality. And furthermore, you're pretty much using the God of the gaps. Like, you're saying that we need
Actually,
God
no,
to
I didn't offer
explain
that at all.
rationality.
I did not offer any God of the gaps argument. I didn't point to certain things that we do not understand and say, therefore, God did it. You never heard me say
Rationality.
that. Okay? No, I simply said that the God of the Bible is the necessary prerequisite for everything. I didn't say that I'm saying there are certain unknown things, therefore God did it. Okay, so you've misrepresented the position. Number two, you made another fundamental error when you said that science doesn't need to presuppose causality because we see it. That is a logical fallacy. Eyesight is a set of causal connections. Do you accept that statement? Is eyesight a set of causal connections?
Eyesight is a biological function.
Okay, that's not in dispute. Is eyesight a label for a set of causal connections, sir?
I do not think that applies, no.
Okay, well, then you don't understand science, okay? So how could you see something if there were no causal relations between events?
I see something because light comes to my eyes and my brain
Okay, is that a causal relation?
That's a causal relation, but there are many
Good.
causal relations except for that.
So eyesight is a set of causal relations?
If you want to define it like that, sure.
No, it's not if. It is defined that way. Eyesight is defined as a set of causal relations. Do you accept that?
I don't think so, because if you look,
Okay, well then we're going to have
if
to
you look
go
on the
over it
internet,
again.
you will see a different
Okay,
definition.
how could you have eyesight if there weren't causal connections between events?
That's not saying the same thing that you said.
Okay, sir, you're not, listen, this is going right over your head. Okay, eyesight and all other sense perceptions are labels for a variety of sets of causal relations and connections. One cannot invoke eyesight without presupposing that eyesight is a set of causal connections. Okay, this is 101 philosophy of science. You could not see anything if there were not causal relations. Now, is eyesight the emittance of photons from a source, such as the sun, traveling through space-time, passing through your cornea and your lens, striking your optic nerve, your retina, and producing an electrical signal that travels up your optic nerve where it is neurologically processed? Is that what eyesight is?
Yes.
Good. Did I just describe to you a set of causal connections?
Yes, you described the causal
Okay,
connection.
good. So when you try to justify that there are causal connections by invoking eyesight, causal connections have to exist first before you can invoke eyesight and then say eyesight, therefore causal connections. So you are committing the fallacy of begging the question.
Eyesight is explained through causality. That doesn't mean
Okay,
eyesight
you cannot
itself is
appeal.
causality.
Okay, do you know what begging the question is? Begging the question is where you presuppose the conclusion in any of your premises and then say, therefore, the conclusion. When you invoke eyesight, it presupposes causality, and then you say, eyesight, therefore causality. So all you are simply saying is causal connections, therefore causal connections. That is a fallacious argument, sir.
Can I please finish my sentence before you stop me this time?
But yeah, I'd like you to finish, but do you understand that you've committed a logical fallacy?
No, I don't, because you are mixing
It's
up
begging the
eyesight.
question.
You're not letting me finish the sentence.
This is amazing.
How surprising.
I've
You won't
just
let him
explained
finish
to
a
you how you've
sentence.
committed a logical fallacy by presupposing causal connections in the label eyesight and then saying, therefore, causal connections. That is a logical fallacy.
Please let me finish this sentence, okay? You explain eyesight using causality. That doesn't mean that eyesight itself is causality. You understand my sentence?
No, you can't have eyesight without causal connection, sir.
Fine, you can't have eyesight without causal connection.
Right.
That
You have
doesn't
to
mean that eyesight
establish.
itself
You
is
have.
causal.
You have to.
connection.
Okay. All right. Listen, we're going to have to move on because you're not even understanding two fundamental things. You're not understanding a fundamental issue of the relationship between the causal principle and the nature of eyesight. And number two, you're not understanding a very common fallacy called begging the question. You are committing the fallacy of begging the question by presupposing your conclusion of causality in the premise when you invoke eyesight. Okay? Now, I've explained this to.
This guy is just fucking nauseating with his bullshit, isn't he? Don't you find him like a drone? Wow, man, this guy's so full of it. I swear he could sell anything. He could be a Coca-Cola salesman, or something. Bullshit. Buy my 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 bullshit. Excuse me. You want your cat? All right. Excuse me. Hold on a second. There he is. Okay, short interlude, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Sorry about that.
3 times to you. What I have said is completely uncontroversial, and it is ironclad.
I am not presupposing any question. I am explaining to you that we use
You are
causality to
presupposing
explain
causality.
eyesight.
You are presupposing causality when you invoke eyesight, are you not?
I'm using eyesight to I'm using
Are you?
causality
You're
to
not
explain
answering my question. You are presupposing causality when you invoke
All
eyesight.
right, fine, yes.
Good. When you presuppose the conclusion causality in the premise, which is eyesight, that is the fallacy of begging the question. Now, that's the 4th time I've explained it to you. So how do you account for causality without appealing to a fallacy such as begging the question? You're going to have to appeal to something other than sense perception, because any appeal to sense perception is the fallacy of begging the question. So how do you justify that there are causal connections as the fundamental presupposition of science?
It's what we have the best evidence for.
Yeah, that's a non-answer, sir. That's a cliche. Evidence
Why is that
required,
a
listen to
non-answer?
me. Do you understand that evidence requires that there be causal connections? Do you understand that?
Why would you assume that there are not causal connections?
Without causal connections and relations. Well, I'm not assuming that. You see, in the Christian worldview, the God of the Bible has revealed that he instituted causality and causal connections. But since you do not accept that, I'm not going to grant to you, when you try to invoke science, that the pillars of science, such as causality or the causal principle, is a given. You're going to have to establish that from within your worldview. And so far, you have not offered a rational justification that doesn't beg the question for causal connections. And without justifying causal connections, you cannot launch science as a viable concept. Now, do you have any other rational justification for causality?
Wait, before that, I want to say that where is your evidence that that just because the Bible said it, that God created causality?
I'll be glad to address that question. I'm awaiting my answer to my question. You are doing the same thing that the gentleman did before. I have been more than gracious to answer your questions, and you are evading me. Do you have a rational justification for that there are causal connections between events so that you can establish at least one of the many prerequisites of science?
I have only observations.
No, that's a fallacy, sir. So you're telling me all you have is a fallacious begging the question, which means
Well, you reading the Bible and seeing that it says that there is God.
I'll be glad to discuss the
also an observation.
Bible. What you have just conceded to is that you have no justification for causality, because when you say, I only have invoking eyesight, then you are admitting that your only basis for establishing causality is begging the question. So since you're only appealing to a fallacy, it means that you have no rational justification for causality, sir.
Even if I have rational justification, if I have no rational justification, how does that justify your position?
Okay, without a stat. Well, the issue that we were discussing was that
Let's say for the sake of discussion,
I'd like to finish answering. You stated to me, science does not need causality or the uniformity of nature. You directly stated that. Now, my position is that is completely false. Any professor of the philosophy of science, you will learn in the first week in a college course that science requires, before you can do anything scientific, a number of presuppositions or starting points. The first one is the reality of the external physical world. Second, the causal principle, or that there are causal connections. Third, the nature operates according to some laws. In addition to that, you're going to need to establish the sense perception, the reliability of cognitive faculties, and that there are fundamental laws of logic. And there are several other presuppositions, which I won't get into at the moment. But you have not established that there is causality. You said the only thing you have is a begging the question line of reasoning. So you have no justification for causality. And in the absence of justifying causality, you have no viable model for science.
All right, let's say that I agree with you for the sake of discussion, so we can move on to the next point.
Sure.
All right, so now your basis for saying that the Bible says that God created causality, but the only way you know that is by observing the Bible and reading what it says there. So how do you know that you have any more basis than I do?
Why? Because the only way to know anything in my model of reality are through the revelatory acts of God, which include natural revelation and special revelation. Natural revelation includes the very substrata of existence down to molecules, etc., chemistry, physics, causality, etc. That these are all natural revelation of God, including God has ordained the basic reliability of human sense perception insofar as we don't have defective eyes or ears or brains. And God has also ordained that we have a basic reliability in cognition and that we're made in his image. And we think at a fundamental level according to the laws of logic, which reflect his mind and his character. That's how I know it.
All right, let me first ask you a question. Can we just decide whether right now we are talking about a specific type of Christian God or just a conscious God, or what kind of God?
I'm talking only about the Christian God.
Not a creator God in general, Christian specifically?
No, I'm talking about the Christian God.
All right, well, what basis do you have that the Christian God specifically created that and not the Muslim God and not the Jewish God and not any other type of God that there are people who believe in?
Why? Because they don't exist and you cannot put them on the table because that is a contradiction to your worldview. They cannot be put on as a possibility because the only position that you can offer to replace the Christian God is your model of atheistic materialism. To offer another model of reality that is not your own is literally a logical contradiction.
No, it's not. I can argue positions that I don't believe in.
Sir, no, let me explain something to you, right? Models of reality or ultimacies of reality are all encompassing. They are not contingencies. When you invoke that something is a potential actual, it has to be within a model of reality or worldview. So your worldview is atheistic materialism. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm an atheist, but...
Oh, okay, good. Therefore, you cannot put on the table another model of reality that is not your own, because those models of reality, I'm going to explain it to you. Those models of reality are contradictions to the worldview that you're speaking from. Your assertions and predications are only viable with respect to the model of reality that they are dependent upon, which will be your model of reality. Islam, Hinduism, or Buddhism, or other models of reality are not contingencies or possibilities from within your model of reality. So to offer them out of your worldview is a literal logical contradiction.
That's not true. You're misrepresenting.
I just explained it. I just explained to you twice why it's a logical contradiction.
Because you're misrepresenting it? All right.
I didn't misrepresent you.
Yeah,
I simply
then let me
pointed
explain
out.
it and show how
All
you're
right, just
misrepresenting
give me
it.
10 seconds. Give me 10 seconds. I simply pointed out that you invoking other models of reality as potential actuals is a logical contradiction to your model of reality.
All right, let me explain my stance and my atheism. My atheism is very similar to one stipulated by Sam Harris, that I don't believe in God in the same way that I don't believe in the tooth fairy. There is no evidence for it, but I cannot stipulate that it does not exist. I just can say that
How do you
there's
know
no
there's
evidence for it,
how do you know there's no evidence?
because none has been presented until.
What's the causal origin of the universe, sir?
Well, the best explanation according to science is the Big Bang.
Right, so that's it. That's called abduction. Abductive conclusions are not logically necessitated. Number two, you cannot, you did
What's
not address,
abductive?
abduction is an inference to the best explanation, okay? An inference to the best explanation, the conclusion is not logically necessitated. It can be wrong. Now, you asserted that there are other potential actual worldviews. You cannot offer another worldview because it will contradict your worldview. You can only offer your worldview as a potential actual vis-a-vis my worldview. To offer another worldview as a potential actual other than your worldview is a logical contradiction.
All right. In response to your first point, yes, we can be wrong. We can always be wrong. That's the point of science, to be open to things being different.
You haven't established science, sir. You have to establish causality first before you can invoke science. Can you establish causality?
Can you establish causality?
Sir, can you establish causality?
No. Can you establish causality?
Okay, good. Since you can't establish causality, you can't invoke science then.
I can invoke it as the best
science
explanation.
requires several presuppositions as brute facts. One of those is that there are causal connections between events. Since you asserted you cannot account for causality or causal connections, you don't have a basis for science, because science depends upon the causal principle for its viability. So until you justify several of the presuppositions of science, starting with causality, you cannot invoke science, sir.
Well, I personally think that your second argument, that I can't argue for something that I don't believe in, is just, it's not true. And I think that
Okay,
anyone
all
else
right,
here
I'll
will say
explain it
that
to
it's
you
not
again.
true.
Are you familiar
Does
with the
anyone
law?
believe that's true?
Are you familiar with the law of non-contradiction? Do you know
What's
what
the
that
law
is?
of non-contradiction?
Okay, the law of non-contradiction says A cannot equal not A. The law of excluded middle says something is either A or it's not A. Now, when we speak from our respective worldviews or models of reality, a model of reality from which we speak is all encompassing, whether you realize that or not. So that model of reality, that frame of reference, which will be all encompassing, that frame of reference is either true or it's not true. Now, before I complete my explanation, do you accept that a model of reality that we each speak from is either true or not true?
Yes.
Okay, now, when you speak and you offer contingencies and possibilities, they have to be specific to your model of reality, right? If you invoke a possibility that is not specific to your model of reality, then other models of reality contradict your model of reality. You can only
because I can
listen
also
to me. Listen, this is something that I know very well, sir. You can only invoke possibilities and contingencies that are specific to your model of reality. Since other models of reality are not contingencies that are derivative and specific to your model of reality, they would stand in absolute contradiction to your model of reality. So you cannot invoke another model of reality as a contingency from within your model of reality. So either your model of reality that you speak from is true or it is not true. If you invoke another model of reality as a potential actual that it may be true, then in the case that it is, then the worldview that you're speaking from is false, destroying all of your assertions that depend upon your model of reality. So I've explained this 4 times to you. To offer another model of reality as a potential actual as an alternative to the Christian worldview is a logical contradiction.
All right, I let you speak for a long while. Can you please give me now 2 minutes to speak uninterrupted?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. You're presupposing something because I can think of a lot of possibilities. I have an imagination, and I can
Your
think of
mic
a
is
lot of
something wrong with
possibilities.
your mic.
Is it okay now?
No.
Testing, testing, testing.
Ruth,
No.
your mic is a little bit fucked up, so I'm going to say we will go to the next person until you get your mic working. You want to try one more time?
Trying again. Is it working now?
Your mic's a little fucked. Okay, there's 2 people who called it before Destiny. Do either Asmund or Agnak still want to go?
Can I go?
Who's that? Destiny was before you, whoever's talking there.
Peter Rescue Driver.
Agnak.
Okay, so just to be clear, does Agnak or Asmund wants to go? Rescue Driver, you can go after Destiny.
Yes.
Does Agnak or Asmund want to go?
Yes.
I can't hear who's talking right now. I'm on my iPod. Who is that who's speaking right there?
It's Agnak. Agnak.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead, man.
I'm ready to go.
Okay,
So,
go for it.
No one else.
Yep, go for it.
All right. So what is your proposition, Darth?
Sorry. Unless Darth, did you have anything else to say with Ruth there?
No, we're done. He has no foundation from which to speak. He can't establish science, so you can't use science as a falsifier. He didn't even understand the presuppositions of science, and there's nothing more to say.
All right, Agnak, you're up.
All right. What's your proposition, Darth?
My proposition is that the Christian God exists, and I know this in virtue of his natural and special revelation. His special revelation are each and every time he communicated with human beings such as Adam, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Moses, the Old Testament prophets, and ultimately and finally through Jesus. I'm answering your question, sir. Ultimately and finally through Jesus Christ, his apostles, and them being guided by the Holy Spirit to record objectively and historically God's special revelation.
How do you know these revelations actually occurred?
How do I know that they occur? Because God's sovereignty and his omniscience has secured it. And God's revelation being the ultimate and final authority is self-attesting and self-authenticating.
How do you know God's revelation is self-attesting and whatever the fuck you just said?
Right, because everyone who holds to an ultimate authority considers their ultimate authority self-authenticating. It would be a logical incoherency.
How do you know God is
listen, if you keep on interrupting me in the midst of answering, I'll just move on to somebody else. Everyone who holds to the concept of an ultimate authority when they make stipulations would have to hold to that in principle. It would be philosophically devastating for you to deny that one's ultimate authority verifies itself.
How do you know that?
How do I know that? Because if I'm going to explain to you that it would be a violation of logic to say that the ultimate authority is verified by an independent source would mean that it is not the ultimate authority and hence a logical contradiction. So the ultimate authority would by definition have to verify and authenticate itself. Do you reject that in principle?
Repeat that.
Do you reject in principle that one's ultimate authority would need to authenticate and verify itself, because to appeal to an independent source would be a logical contradiction? Do you reject that in principle?
I don't know.
Okay, what's your worldview since I told you mine?
Mine is the atheist worldview.
Okay, do you deny the existence of God, or do you lack belief in God?
I lack belief in God.
Okay, do you lack belief in God because God is not rationally justified?
I lack belief in God because I don't have any reason.
Okay, listen, dude, you got to get closer to your microphone. It sounds like you're halfway across the gymnasium.
I do not believe in God because I don't have any reason to believe in God.
Okay, is that your principled criterion?
Sure.
Okay, so, and now would you agree that God would be defined as the ultimacy of reality were he to exist?
I have no idea.
So if God is the creator and sustainer of all things, he would be defined as the ultimacy of existence. Since you lack belief in God, there must be something else that exists that provides for your capacity to think and reason. Since you lack belief in God, what is it that ultimately exists that provides for your reason?
We all have base axioms that we all assume.
How do you know that?
Those and go into
How do you know that we all start from unjustified axioms?
I never said they were unjustified. I said we all
Okay,
have
that's what an axiom is.
like,
Is
if you
an
want to
axiom
ask
justified?
me, how do I know I exist? I don't fucking know how I exist.
Is an axiom justified, sir? How do you know universally that everybody starts from axioms as opposed that are okay? Okay. Now, in the Christian worldview, we start. Okay, listen. Do you want to have a conversation, or you just want to talk over me like a punk?
Go ahead.
What's it going to be? Okay. Now, you made a universal global declaration that we all start from axioms. Now, is that a de facto denial that we do not start from God-ordained mental states?
I don't know.
Okay, so then if you don't know, then you don't know that we all start from axioms, do you?
I mean, you can regress me and put me in an infinite
Do you know that we all start from axioms?
I don't. I mean, I think we do, but maybe not.
Oh, okay. So now you're changing your tune. You just told me we did. Now you say you don't know. Which is it?
Well, we can't really truly know anything, can we?
Oh, okay, good. You just contradicted yourself. Do you know that?
Sure.
Oh, do you know that? You just said we can't truly know anything. When you said we can't truly know anything, is that a knowledge claim? Is that a knowledge claim?
Sure.
Good, but you said we don't really know anything.
Yeah, no matter where.
Good. You contradicted yourself, sir.
You can infinite regress to literally anything.
Okay, sir, do you realize you contradicted yourself?
Logic doesn't
Do you?
matter.
Okay, are we going to have a conversation here, or are you going to ignore me? I have not ignored any of your questions, sir, but you are ignoring me. If you wish to ignore me, I'll move on to somebody else. What's it going to be? Are you going to ignore me? Okay, last chance, sir. If you're going to ignore me and talk over me like a punk, the conversation is over.
All right, I'm just going to butt in. Agnak, do you want to answer the line of questioning he's asking you right now, or do you want to just do last words and move on to the next person?
Give honest answers.
Wait, Agnak, just to answer me here. Do you want to answer the question he's asking right now, or do you want to just do last words and say whatever and then go on to the next person?
What was the question he was asking? I was kind of yelling over him a little bit too. Repeat it, Darth.
My question is, how do you know that we all start from axioms? How do you know this? Oh, no, that wasn't the question. The question had to do with your assertion that we truly don't know anything. And I asked you, is that a knowledge statement? You said yes. And I said, do you realize you've contradicted yourself?
Well, we can know things after we set our axioms.
Like, no, you just told me you truly can't know anything. So now
you can't deduce anything outside of our epistemology.
Well, you just contradicted yourself again. Which contradiction do you want to go with? First you say we can't truly know anything, then you say we can, then you say we can't. Which is it?
Well, you're kind of twisting me there.
I didn't twist you anything. I'm simply quoting you.
We can't make a deduction outside of our epistemology. If we want to make a deduction, it's going to have to be with some axioms. And
how do you know that? Okay, so how do you know that some of our most fundamental mental states are not God ordained? Do you know that they aren't?
What you kind of the last part? How do I know?
I said when you say we all start from fundamental axioms, that's a de facto denial that some of our fundamental mental states are God ordained. Are some of our fundamental mental states God ordained, sir, or not?
God would be an axiom too.
No, I didn't ask you that question. I said, see, this is the problem. I keep asking you very simple and circumspect questions, and you keep on coming back being evasive and not answering the question. I said, Has God given us fundamental mental states? Yes or no?
I don't know. You have yet to establish.
Okay, then if you don't know, then you don't know that everyone starts from axioms. Because in the case that God gave us fundamental mental states,
And
then we
you
would
know
not
what?
all
Neither
start
do
with
you.
axioms. How do you
Neither
know
do
that?
you. The point
How
is
do you know that? How do you know that?
because we don't have a problem or an answer.
Wait a
to the
minute.
problem
You
of
just told
skepticism.
me we truly don't know anything. Now you're telling me what I don't know? How do you know that if you don't know anything?
Because you don't have an answer to the problem of skepticism.
How do you know I don't?
Okay,
How do you know I
give me an
don't?
answer, and I'll reduce.
How
it
do you
to
know?
right now.
How do you
wanna
know?
put down
How
a
do you
million
know?
arguments right now? I will reduce.
Okay, all right, we're done. We're
now.
gonna move on because all he wants to do is
Why? 'Cause I'm not
crosstalk.
gonna play your
I have
little
answered every single one of his
half red
questions,
herrings
and all he wants to do is be argumentative. So we're done, sir. Next.
Okay,
Okay.
so 1 sec. All right, so I'm gonna give Agnak a last word, then Darth, you being the guest, can have the last word, and then we'll move on. So Agnak, what do you want to say?
I just want to say that Presup is absolute bullshit. It's basically a double-edged sword. If he wants to attack your axioms, then go after his. The same criticisms that he criticizes atheists of, the Christian worldview is also able to be criticized of. It's just bullshit. It's dishonest and it's disingenuous. Fuck it.
All right, Darth, you can have the last word on that, and then we'll pass it to whoever's
Yeah,
next.
this is shocking that he says the Presup is bullshit coming from somebody who just openly declared 3 times we truly don't know anything. If he actually believes his own words that we truly don't know anything, then he doesn't know what is BS and what is not BS. So he has again contradicted himself. Next.
All right, Asmund, do you want to go, or is it Destiny?
Yeah, I can go, I guess.
All right, you go, then Destiny, then the child sex guy or whatever, pedo rescue driver can go third.
I want to jump in too.
Yeah. So
Carlos,
how are you so sure? Hello. How are you so sure that like the religion is like the true thing? I guess.
Why? Because God has objectively and accurately revealed it in natural and special revelation, and the denial of which leads to complete absurdity.
But how? I mean, there's no science behind that, is it? Like, it's just you're basing your
Sir, I'm not an empiricist, are you? Do you know what empiricism is? Empiricism is the position that the only way to know things is through sense perception. Is that your position about science?
Well, I don't really know. Not sure about that.
Well, if you don't know, then why are you invoking science? Is science the only way? Is science the only way to know things, sir?
No. I mean, you can't be sure that anything is 100% right.
You know, you're not answering my question. You're dodging my question. Is science the only way to know things?
Not necessarily, maybe. No.
Okay, good. Well, my position is that the only reason why we can and do know things are through God's revelatory acts, both in natural and special revelation. If you do not accept God's revelation, then you're going to tell me you're over talking me, sir.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll be done momentarily. If you reject the revelation of God, that God's revelation, both in natural and special revelation, are needed in order to know some things that we cannot be wrong about. If you deny that, then you're going to have to step up to the plate and you're going to have to tell me what is your means of knowing things. And I'm defining knowing as a justified true belief. So do you have a method of knowing something that's a justified true belief?
Well, my position is that you can't really know anything like 100%.
Okay, that's a contradiction, sir, because you just made a knowledge statement.
Okay.
You just contradicted yourself like Agnak. If you say you can't know anything, that's a knowledge statement.
You can't know anything
contradiction
with 100%
that's a contradiction.
security.
Well, first of all, we're
Is that a
not
contradiction?
defining. Okay, Asman, we're not defining knowledge by
Okay.
percentages of psychological confidence that a belief may be true. I'm using the word knowledge as it is commonly used, although some parties may object to it, but it's commonly used that knowledge is a belief that's true, that has a justificatory path, justified true belief. Okay, I'm not interested in talking about psychological confidence or percentage. Either you know something or you don't know it. Okay, now what is your basis, since you reject the revelation of the Christian God as the
I don't really.
foundation and basis? Well, either you accept it or you don't.
No, I don't like. I'm not gonna say I'm going to reject that God exists. I'm just saying that we don't know. That's the thing. Like, how can
No,
you be
I didn't
sure
say
that?
I didn't say a generic God. I said the revelation of the Christian God. Do you accept the revelation of the Christian God?
No, I don't accept that because I'm not sure. Like, there's
Okay,
no
good.
proof that-
What's your basis to know anything, sir?
Well, I base my knowledge on science, I guess, and facts and logical thinking, I guess.
Okay. Can you justify science? Does
Well,
science
that's a hard
require
one again.
does
Yeah.
science require causality and the uniformity of nature? The answer is yes. Can you justify those?
I don't really understand that question, to be honest.
Well, if you're going to tell me that science is a means to know some things as opposed to all things, then you must be able to defend the pillars of science, because in the absence of you justifying the pillars of science, there's no science to be spoken of. One of those pillars is the causal principle, or that there are causal connections between events. Without that being the case, then science is meaningless. Do you have a non-question begging justification for causality?
I think you're like rambling all over the place, so it's so
No,
hard
I'm
to
not
like follow up.
rambling.
It's
No,
so
I'm not
hard to
rambling.
follow. Listen.
Well,
It's so hard to
well,
follow.
then you
up
shouldn't
what you're
join
saying.
into.
You most certainly are rambling all over the place. Just like the gentleman said, you are rambling all over the place, Gary. He's caught you out. He's hit the nail on the head with you, Gary.
With debate, sir, if you can't understand what I just said.
Well, I mean, if you do it more basic, I mean, I just don't understand again how you.
Okay, do you understand the concept of causality? Can you justify?
No, can I explain that? I'm Norwegian, so I don't understand all the English words, but I'm trying. Okay.
Okay, can you justify causality?
He doesn't understand.
Can you explain causality to me?
Exactly.
Yeah, that for each event there is a cause.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Can you justify that there are causal connections between events? Because in the absence of doing so, you're not going to be able to invoke science as a viable option.
This guy's talking shit, is he?
I see.
Isn't he? He just says bullshit.
I understand. Well,
you don't understand.
the thing is
Nobody
that
understands.
I don't
what
really
he's talking
understand
about.
how
Exactly.
you base how are you so sure that the religion that you follow is true? It's
question.
based on a Bible
Well,
that's written
because
ago.
I'll tell you why. Number
Gary
one,
is no
the
philosopher.
Bible is self-authenticating and self-attesting. I have simply
How is the Bible self-authenticating and self-attesting? Books can't do shit like that. You know, it's a book.
accepted that self-authenticating revelation. Now, if you don't accept that, if you're not persuaded by it,
You can't accept it if it's not true, if it doesn't exist, right?
then the only other proof that you're going to get is that the proof of the God of the Bible and the Bible itself is that without it, you cannot prove anything.
That is bullshit. That is the biggest lot of nonsense sentence I've ever heard in my life. Without the Bible, you can't prove anything. Hey, you know what? I didn't need the Bible to prove that that Gary Moon's a fraud and a fake and a phony and an adulterer and a pervert and all those things. I didn't need the Bible to tell me that. Reality told me that, Gary.
Okay? It would be like denying the reality of the external physical world. If you deny the reality of the external physical world, your world doesn't mean anything. If you deny the laws of logic, If you so much don't accept the laws of logic, your world would become absurdity.
Well, you obviously don't accept the laws of logic, Gary, because your world, your worldview, your ideology, your Christian doctrine is nonsensical. It doesn't pass the laws of logic. Your Jesus character is a case in point. Illogical, does not meet the requirements of the three laws of logic, and therefore you throw it away because it's irrational, incoherent, as you like to say.
If you deny the God of the Bible, that the God of the Bible and his revelatory acts are the ultimacy of reality that provides for everything, including your logic, your reasoning, your thinking, okay?
That makes no sense, Gary. You say it over and over and over again, and it has no meaning whatsoever to me, and I'm sure to people watching or listening.
Inferences. If you deny that, then I'm not going to grant you any brute facts that you need to reason. So
I'm not going to grant you any brute facts that you need. You don't need brute facts. Law of identity 1, A equals A. Law of identity 2, A cannot be not A. Law of identity 3, A cannot be both A and not A at the same time. Hope I got those right.
I'm going to ask you to account for those brute facts, since you asked me to account for the Bible. And since you reject the Bible, you're going to have to account
I don't
for brute
reject the
facts.
Bible. I'm saying that I'm not rejecting it. I'm just saying that how are you so sure that that's the case?
Why? Because the denial of it leads to absurdity, sir.
How's that?
Well, in order to
I've got it for you.
have
laws of identity. Sorry, the three laws of thought. An object is what it is. That's the law of identity. A cannot be both A and B. That's the law of contradiction. Every statement is either true or false. There is nothing in between. And that's the law of something or other. Hold on. I now have to look for it. Law of excluded middle. Okay? Why don't we just keep this up? There.
Meaningful and intelligible statement or stipulation, it requires not only immediate context, but the grand context of reality. If you do not know what the grand context of reality is, then you cannot offer an intelligible statement metaphysically. It'll be intelligible semantically, but you won't be able to make sense of that stipulation in reference to where it ultimately comes from and depends upon. So if you say, I don't know what the ultimate nature of reality is, then if you so much as say the sky is blue, that's meaningless gibberish, because you need the ultimate nature of reality to talk about light, okay, about causality, about laws of nature, okay?
Okay.
So the reason why I know the Bible is true is because the denial of the Bible is to embrace autonomous reasoning, and autonomous reasoning leads to absurdity.
So, what the fuck is it? Autonomous reasoning mean? Because I absolutely have no idea. Hold on a second. Hey Google, what does autonomous reasoning mean?
According to Wikipedia, autonomous reasoning rules are the product of an agreement and, therefore, are modifiable. They can be subject to interpretation and fit exceptions and objections.
Autonomous reasoning rules are the product of an agreement and, therefore, are modifiable. They can be subject to interpretation and fit exceptions and objections. The base of the rule is its own acceptance, and its meaning has to be explained. So autonomous reasoning means it has to be explained.
okay, so you talk so much that it's just hard to follow up. I think
Yeah, I agree.
just Carlos can go on, and I don't really. The thing is that the problem is that I can't follow up with you. Like the things you say, it's so much. It's like hard to take in. It's
I agree.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you for the conversation.
I don't feel like you put any proof out. There is no like I don't get you.
Sir, your worldview. Wait a minute. Here's the problem. You just
yeah.
invoked the concept of proof, right? Does proof require evidence?
Yes, I guess.
Okay. Does evidence require causality?
You're an idiot, Darth Dawkins.
Yes, I guess.
Good. So in your worldview, can you account for causal connections so that proof is a viable concept?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Fucking hell.
Well, you just said you can't prove it, which is you're presupposing that is proof a viable concept, sir?
Yes,
Okay, proof requires evidence.
No.
Evidence requires causal connections. Is
Oh,
proof
God.
a viable concept in your model of reality?
I tell you what, Darth Dawkins, you're such a bullshitter. I'll tell you what, all gods are imaginary. There you go. Just stop with that. Come in here, prove me wrong if you can. But other than that, all gods are imaginary. So stop your word salad bullshit with everybody and motor mouthing them and filibustering with concept after concept after concept, phrase after phrase after phrase that nobody can keep up with you. And then you scream at them, answer my question, yes or no. And if they say something else, I didn't ask you about blah 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 blah. Yes or no. You are so you're evil. That's what you are, Darth Dawkins. Gary Milne. You're an evil cunt. You really are evil. And I think that even supersedes your Christianity. You're just an evil bastard. That's it.
Yes, I would base my facts on.
Okay, good. So proof
I
is
guess.
viable. Now, would proof be viable in your worldview if you couldn't account for causality?
I guess. Yeah, sure.
No, sir. Proof requires evidence. Evidence requires causal connections. In the absence of justifying causality, you have no basis to invoke that there's proof.
Well, I'm not saying that anything is wrong or right. I'm just saying, how are you so sure that the Bible is right?
Well, I explained
that's
to
the
you.
thing, I guess, yeah.
I explained to
but
you.
your explanation doesn't really make any sense to me. That's the problem.
Sir, does your worldview make sense of anything? When you deny the revelation of the Christian God, can you make sense out of your world, sir?
What do you mean it makes sense? Like
exactly.
You just said the Christian worldview doesn't make sense.
No, I didn't say.
Does your worldview make sense?
It does, yeah. Religion doesn't really make sense to me.
Does your worldview make sense? Okay, good. Then can you tell me what is the ultimate nature of reality by which you can make sense out of any singular statement? What's the ultimate nature of reality?
Robot. Ultimate nature of reality.
Exactly.
I don't understand the question.
Okay, well then we'll move on then.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But I mean, but I don't really understand.
Asmund, why don't you have a last word? Darth can have a last word, and then we'll go to Destiny.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
So
the
thing here is that I feel like it's weird that you base your like proof or basis based on a book and all that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's just rubbish, I guess. I'm not saying that anything is right or wrong because you can't be sure of anything. But
well, if you call it rubbish, it's wrong then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not necessarily wrong, but it feels like there's no science behind it. So I would say that
you just contradicted yourself. You have no basis for science.
Okay, so Asmund, do you want to get a last word in there, and then Darth has the last word, or is there anything else you want to say, Asmund?
Nah, I'm fine, dude. I just
Okay, Darth, you want a last word before we go on?
He's a walking contradiction. He doesn't understand the nature and foundation of science. He wants to invoke science freely and proof and evidence freely, yet he cannot account for the presuppositions of those things. He then says the Christian worldview is rubbish, and then he immediately says, I'm not saying it's false. Well,
Not
if you say it's
necessarily.
rubbish,
Not
are you-
necessarily.
Yo, Asmund,
Sir,
his last word.
listen, you're a walking contradiction, and there's nothing else need to be said. When you
Ad hominem.
contradict yourself,
Ad
you're over.
hominem.
Okay?
Thanks.
All right, so let's move on then. Destiny, you want to go?
Yeah.
Can I? Oh, fuck.
All right. What I'm going to do here is also move on. Destiny's next, and Destiny will be next episode. So what I'm going to do right now is bid you all adieu. I'll be back in the next to continue this in my next episode. Okay. Thank you very much, every single one of you, for watching. And if you see something you like, share it with your friends. And samba all the time.